Hey guys, I'm IzDaisho, and I am going to be bringing you another episode of this deck breakdown. The other two were pretty successful, and I hope that you guys enjoy this one too. If you do, please leave a like, because I really want to know if this series is taken as well as it really is, as it seems to be. So anyway, here is the way I set up my Wielding Steel deck, just to let you guys know at the beginning, before I show you all the cards. It's based on having low-cost creatures and equipping them with your equipments. Obviously, that's what the deck is based around, but it's also based on re-equipping them. So, as I get through the cards, I'll basically describe some more. But Brave the Elements is a really good card. It doesn't really help the strategy so well, but it's a one-cost instant that can either make all your creatures unblockable, or it could save one of your creatures if somebody has a kill spell or something. This guy's a one cost 2/1, so it's got 2 attack power and it's a 1 cost, so it's pretty decent. This guy's actually a really good card too. He's like 1 cost 1/1, but he has tap 1 planes and tap this creature to tap target creature, which can be really beneficial. Infiltration Lens is an extremely good card, especially if you're playing online. Any of your creatures, Kitesail Apprentice, literally any single creature of yours in this entire deck, except for Pure Steel Paladin and Baneslayer Angel, is worth drawing 2 cards. So basically, if you have your 2/1 out there, and let's say they've got a 2/3, you just equip your 2/1 with this 1 cost 1 equip, and then you attack with it. And then you get to draw 2 cards, because nobody realizes the power of drawing cards, or a lot of people don't realize how useful drawing cards is. Plus, it's just an equipment which will benefit you in many ways, such as Kitesail Apprentice. As long as Kitesail Apprentice is equipped, it gets +1/+1 and has flying. So I feel like that has some obvious benefits. You want your creature to be flying. It's a 1 cost 1/1 that if it's just equipped with anything, it becomes a 2/2 flyer for 1 cost. So that's really good. Core Duelist is another really good card. It has double strike as long as it's equipped. So for those of you who didn't know, double strike is first strike and then normal strike, or normal combat. It deals first strike combat damage and normal combat damage. So if somebody has double strike and they go up against somebody with first strike, then it's pretty much like a normal confrontation at the beginning, and then it becomes different, because then the double strike guy attacks in the second main phase also. So this card is really good. I'll show you a pretty cool combination that I didn't really explain in my video where I showed this deck, but anyway. Trusty Machete is decent. It's a 1 cost 2 to equip, and it gives your creature +2/+1. So the +2/+1 is good, but if you got a card like Core Duelist, then it's going to be a 3/2 double strike, or Kitesail Apprentice, it'll make it a 4/3 flyer. So it really is good for activating your card's abilities that need to be equipped to be activated. Kitesail's good. It's 2 costs to play, 2 to equip, +1/+0, and flying. So the flying part is pretty useful, especially if you throw it on Core Duelist. Then it's a 2/1 flyer with double strike, and then if you throw a Trusty Machete on top of that, then you could be swinging for 8 damage in the air, plus it has first strike. Core Outfitter is really good. In general, it doesn't help you all that much. It just attaches target equipment, but there's one combination in this deck that makes it so useful, and I'll show you that just in a second. Pure Steel Paladin is one of the strongest cards in the deck. In real life, it's probably like a $5 card or something like that, and it's really good. Whenever equipment enters the battlefield, you may draw a card. I talked a little bit earlier about how useful drawing is, but basically you always want to be ahead of your opponents in some way, and drawing cards is one way to do that. Metalcraft, as long as you have 3 equipments equipped for 0. So that's really useful, because let's say you have 2 Trusty Machetes and a Kitesail out, and you have 2 Core Duelists and a Kitesail Apprentice. So you attach everything to a Core Duelist, you swing in for however much damage that is. It's 4, 5, it's 12 damage in the air, flying, 12 damage flying. Then in your second main phase, you re-equip Trusty Machete to Core Duelist. You re-equip Trusty Machete to Kitesail Apprentice, and you re-equip Kitesail to Core Duelist. That way you have a 4/3 flyer and a 4-3 or 4-2 flying double strike, and those two are left to block. And then the next turn you can do the same thing, and you can do the same thing. You can swing for 12. And so basically you just want to keep re-equipping to your creatures that aren't tapped. You don't usually want to have one trusty machete here, one here, because, and then swing in with all three of those guys, because then you're going to be leaving yourself a little bit open. It's better to do what I said first, swing in with one creature, then re-equip the equipments. Obviously, if you have Pure Steel Paladin out, then they're equipped for 0. Otherwise, it's still worth it to re-equip them after your main phase, and that's one of the main reasons why I don't have such expensive cards in the deck, because I like to spend all my mana to re-equip. If I have any extra mana, then I'll use Gideon's Lawkeeper, this guy, to tap somebody. So there's plenty of stuff that I can do with my mana, and I don't like it to be revolving around playing bigger creatures. Stoneforge Mystic. When Stoneforge Mystic enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, put it into your hand. Then, secondary ability, tap 2 and tap. You may put any equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield. So in general, that's not going to be helpful. The only reason that's useful is for this card, and I guess this card too. But Argentum Armor. I'm just going to skip ahead to this because I've named a couple of parts of the strategy already, but equipped creature gets +6/+6, which is obviously it's amazing. But whenever equipped creature attacks, destroy target permanent. So you can destroy anything when your creature attacks, even before they assign blockers. So that's really useful. But it costs 6 to equip, 6 to play and 6 to equip. The way you get around that, you play Stoneforge Mystic, take Argentum Armor into your hand, tap 2. Then the next turn, obviously, you tap 2. Put it onto the battlefield, and then the next turn, if you got a core outfitter, or if you have three artifacts and a Pure Steel Paladin out, then you can equip it for free. This guy lets you equip it for free. That's the only reason why Argentum Armor is in the deck. It's not really based on trying to hardcast it. Just play it, tap 6 mana and play it, and then tap 6 the next turn. Although if a game comes to that, then you can do it that way. But in general, you're going to want to do it in one of these other roundabout ways. But if you don't have a core outfitter or a Pure Steel Paladin in your hand, when you get Stoneforge Mystic, I recommend getting Sword of War and Peace. I'll go over that in a couple of seconds once I get up to that. But anyway, Sunspear Shikari is just another creature that benefits from being equipped. It's got First Strike and Lifelink, which are both two really powerful abilities, especially if you make this card stronger. Then you can kill the other guy in the first combat phase, and then they won't even get to damage you. Arrest is just for some control. It's always good to have some sort of control. This is the same card as Pacifism, except it costs 1 more, and it also makes their activated abilities not be able to be activated. This guy, Gideon's Avenger, is a decent card. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, put a +1/+1 counter. So you actually do have a few ways to tap them. You have Core Hookmaster and 2 Gideon's Lawkeepers. So with all those ways, plus if they just want to attack, then they have to tap, or if they've got a Steel Overseer or a Prodigal Pyromancer or something like that that has a tap ability, this guy will get stronger. It basically, especially against people who maybe are not so experienced, it makes them scared to attack because they don't want to make your creature stronger. Even though it's just one creature, it doesn't have trample, but of course you can always give it flying with Kite Sail, and then it could become really, really useful or something like that. But Core Hookmaster, when Core Hookmaster enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls. This creature does not untap until its controller's next untap step. It does not in the next untap step. So basically, you play this creature, it taps their creature, and then they start going, and then their creature doesn't untap when everything else untaps. So it's a pretty decent card. It costs 3, but it can really help you out. Strider Harness I like. It is 3 to play, but it's only 1 to equip, and it gives your creature haste and +1/+1. So +1/+1 is nice. The haste is nice. So that's why this card is in the deck. Yeah, haste is really useful, especially if you play a creature like Core Duelist or something like that. It only costs 1, and then you only have to pay 1 more on top of that to let it attack this turn. And anyway, Sword of War and Peace. This is by far the most expensive. Actually, Stoneforge Mystic was until recently, but it got banned from the standard. Like, the way that the tournaments work is they only cycle in a few if you want to play a standard match, which is what a lot of the tournaments do in real life, I'm saying. Then they only allow certain cards, and then so Stoneforge Mystic was just decided that it was too good, so they banned it from standard. But I think Sword of War and Peace is still allowed. I'm not sure, But anyway, this card is one of the best cards, one of the most expensive cards in real life, that's in this game even. But anyway, equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and white. So already that's nice. You can't be dealt damage by something like, you can't take arrest. Creatures with white can't block you. If you're playing the Ditto this match versus the white deck, then they really can't do anything to you. Although there really isn't that much white. Other than that, I think the artifact deck has white, but I think that might be the only other white. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't even realize that. But anyway, red is also not such a color that people play a lot, but obviously if you get it against one of the mono red decks, then it's just amazing. But so it has +2/+2 protection from red and white. That's great. That's a great ability. Then this next ability is super amazing. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, so make sure it's a player, not a creature. Sword of War and Peace deals damage to the number of cards in that player's hand to that player, and you gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. So if you're attacking with this card, make sure you play all your cards after you do the damage, because otherwise you'll gain less life. But what I wanted to point out is if you have Core Duelist, he has double strike, so he deals combat damage to a player. Sword of War and Peace ability activates, and he takes combat damage. He takes damage to the number of cards in his hand, and you gain to the number of cards in your hand. Then Core Duelist deals damage to a player again because it has double strike, so it's actually just pretty amazing. And then there's a few more cards that I have left in this deck. I actually wanted to make a change, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. So Congregate, there's 2 of these. Only one of them's in the deck, but target player gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. In general, I don't like life gain, but when you can have it as an instant and it could gain you 20 life in one card, then it really helps, especially because this deck sometimes doesn't start up extremely well, and you want to be keeping your weak creatures alive until you can get some equipment on them, and then they become way more powerful. So you want to be taking damage, and then you can play this card and just gain your life back. It basically gives you an entire new 20 damage, pretty much, or 20 health if you play it late on. This card is, it's alright. I don't know if I'll keep it in, but since it prevents all combat damage that would be dealt by attacking creatures, it's better than Holy Day, because you play this card and then you can still block and kill their creatures. So that's really useful. Plus it can just save you if you're in a bind. Then there's Baneslayer Angel, who has Flying, First Strike, Lifelink, protections from demons and dragons, but it's got Flying, First Strike, Lifelink, and it's a 5/5 for 5 cost, so it's definitely worth it, but I might not really want it in the deck because it doesn't really help out the deck all that much, other than the fact that it's Flying, First Strike, Lifelink. And some of you guys may be a little upset that you haven't seen Sarah Angel, but I took that guy out. So anyway, Angel's Feather, these are just the artifacts that gain you life. I still don't like the life gain artifacts. This guy has 2 costs for a 2/2, so it's not really worth it. These cards are pretty decent, but you're not always going to be playing against a deck that has artifacts or enchantments, so I don't like to keep it in the deck. Pen and Blade I took out, and I put in Baneslayer Angel. Pen and Blade is really expensive. It's 3 to play and 4 to equip. Obviously, you can get it out cheaper if you've got a core outfitter or something, but I don't really want to rely on that. Plus, it's usually not going to give you more than what, +2, +3, something like that, because you don't have that many creatures, although there's a lot of creatures in this deck. Congregate, I would like to put this in, but I'm really not sure what to take out. I'm thinking of taking out either Baneslayer or Harmless Assault. One of these 2 cards might go out and be replaced by a Congregate. I'm not sure. This card's pretty good. It's 5 costs to play 6 creatures. And obviously you're never going to be able to, hopefully you're never going to get to the point where you have 11 mana open, but basically then that would play 12 tokens. You'd be playing 12 tokens, which is an incredible amount, but it's just not gonna happen ever, and you don't really need 6/1/1 tokens. It's not gonna help you that much for this deck. Maybe a little bit, maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, Sarah Angel is 5 costs for a 4/4 Flying Vigilance. It's a really good card, not very useful in this deck. As I said, I like to leave my mana open so that I can re-equip stuff. If I'm playing a Sarah Angel, then I don't have any free mana because I rarely get to the point where I have more than 5 lands. Captain of the Watch is just a 6 cost guy. He's really good. He gives all your other soldiers +1/+1 in Vigilance. If this card was a 1/1, didn't have its secondary ability, and it only costs 3, then it would be in the deck, but it's just too expensive for this deck, I think, and that's the only reason I don't have it in here. And then there's this card, which I don't understand how it helps you. It's a 7 cost 6/6, and you buff your opponent's creatures just as much as you buff yours, so I don't really know why you would want this card in your deck. But anyway, that's about it. This is another 15-minute video. It's going to take me an hour to render, but I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Leave your comments if you think that you can do better than me, or if you have any changes that you think would benefit my deck. I hope you guys enjoyed otherwise, and have a nice day. Bye.